Hi, my name is Jade. Welcome to our podcast with Mary Seacole, working with VERU, with a group of young people where we sit down and discuss some topics and issues amongst ourselves that affect us locally and nationally. I'm going to pass you on to the rest of our team for them to introduce themselves.
I'm Jamie, I'm a resident of Mary Seacole.
I'm Jess, I work at Mary Seacole.
I'm Maya, I also work at Mary Seacole.
My name is Tasha, I'm the Youth Intervention Specialist Team Coordinator for the Violence and Exploitation Reduction Unit.
Hiya, my name is Gabi and I'm the owner of the Brewery Public House and also chairwoman of the Licensees Committee.
Hi, I'm Julie Henderson, I'm Detective Chief Superintendent with Bedfordshire Police.
Colleague Maya and I actually did some research and spoke with the young people of Luton, where we were able to get some questions. So some of the opinions and questions that we have don't just come from ourselves but are also from the young people, because we think that it's important to bridge that gap and enable their voice to be heard. So today we're going to be speaking about two topics amongst ourselves. The first topic will be about the festive season coming up, and there is an increase of drink spiking at the moment. So we'll also be discussing safety with regards to not just men but also safety with regards to women and drink spiking. The second topic we'll be speaking about is the decision made for young people to then have their COVID vaccine and the pressure created behind young people now getting the vaccine as well. So those are the two things that we'll be discussing today. As we know, the festive season is coming up, as I said before, and there have been issues with people's drinks being spiked on a night out. Obviously it's something that people don't know it's going to happen until it happens. So I really want to know what other people's thoughts on it, or if anybody has any questions as well about it, because I think that is quite an important thing to discuss. I feel like because we work with young people or are young people, I think it's important to know these things and kind of spread awareness about drink spiking.
My question would be is how could women prevent themselves, like they're covering up long sleeve, but they can also, people are doing it, like injecting people, and they're just waking up with marks. I want to know how people can prevent from that happening in just general, what people can do to stop someone doing it, and how far does it have to go before it gets clamped down.
Just speaking as me, not even in my role capacity, I think it's hard to say how to prevent it because of the different types of way people are spiking. There are preventative measures that I know my colleagues here will talk about, but it's about, for me, it would be about raising awareness amongst young people themselves, women, and how to keep themselves safe and how to prevent themselves kind of getting caught up in the drink spiking.
Yeah, I feel that with that it needs to be taken on. For example, any of my events on the front door, the control is taken. For example, strict searching. It's one thing I'm constantly asking the police. They don't have much information they can give me, but to understand what paraphernalia am I looking for, to know that this is a sign that maybe might be going on. What kind of size needle is it? Is it a vial? Give me some indication of what it is that I can look for. So if I can see a bit of rubbish on the paper, on the floor, could I identify that with being a needle or with being some of this liquid that's dangerous? Unfortunately, there's nothing at the moment they can give me to give me training on how to recognise should I see any of this paraphernalia. But you know, for me in big events, it's that front door, it's that control, it's that searching, and for people to think, God, you know what, they're on it in here, I'm not going to try anything, you know. And it's all about that front door, to how you're greeted, how you're searched, and to the feeling of going in. And if you go into a building where there's no control, the doormen are on their phone, or they're chatting the girl up, you're going to walk in and do what you want, if you're that way inclined. So for me, do you know what? It's all about that front door, and it's all about the control that venue will take.
I personally feel, when I go out to certain nightclubs I've been to, there's certain security that just don't check you all the way down. They only check you like top half, and then they let you go through. They check to let you go through, and then you're in the building. You can have anything in your leg, in your sock.
It's hard. The smaller the area, you know, there's a queue, it's cold, people want to get in, they're getting frustrated. Again, this is where, you know, I'm constantly, you know, saying to the police, give me some idea of what it is I'm searching for. We all know what a packet looks like with white powder in. We also, you know, we all know what a piece of Brisno is in the toilet. We know what they're doing. And we just I need that training, and I need to understand what kind of things we're looking for to have any indication if it's going on in my venue or near it. But it's all about that front door. And if you see the doorman on the front door, they're smoking or they don't care, it's not a venue I would visit if I was a young person.
But I like that. I really like that you're actually seeking to actually gain more information or seek training. And I really think that there should be something where all pub and venue owners have that kind of training, or that something like that is created for you to be able to recognise those things. Like you said, we know what certain things are already because that's the more obvious drugs and those kind of things. But then what other paraphernalia is used?
Yes, I mean, is it a big needle? Is it a small needle? Is it a diabetic needle? And nobody
Like
in Bedfordshire Police,
yeah.
in Bedfordshire Police can say, right, Gabi, here's a picture of a few things that are paraphernalia that you could be looking for.
I think that's the reason why, we've got Bedfordshire Police on the panel. I'm not going to speak for them, but I think it's very hard at the moment to say the type of, because it's almost like a new trend. The needle thing is a new trend.
Yeah.
Before we heard of, there was a drug called Rehypnol, and in a tablet form or a powder form, and they were pouring it in drinks. Now it's a new form, a new kind of thing that they're doing right now, and I guess it's really, really hard at this point until. And it's unfortunate to say this, until we have more cases, we don't know what we're reviewing. Like, we don't know what we're looking at. What we're looking at.
It's unfortunate, like, you have to wait until...
and I think, me, in my work capacity now, my thing would be, is how you keep yourself safe. Because we can't really expect other people to keep us safe. It's just like driving. You drive very safe, you watch out for certain things. I don't know if you want to talk about
that's
what
the thing that I don't know what to look out for, because obviously, as you said, we know what to do with the spike in the drinks, we know to like watch our drink, and we know to like cover it and all that kind of stuff, but I've like
it's
know
the
what to do,
suspicious
like, when
people
we're all
around
close.
you.
Yeah, you know something, as a young girl, do you know what the best thing I can say to you is, you're stronger together, stay together, you're stronger together, keep your phone charged.
I think what worries me is, like, for example, like when I was at uni, like on a night out and stuff like that, like one of my friends had gotten spiked, but we just got chucked out of the club, just outside, and sort of left to it ourselves to try and figure out what to do. I think like my like concern would be like, how are we going to protect women when it actually does happen, instead of like, there's been cases where they're just thrown outside, and sometimes they're thrown out without their friends, and their friends don't realise they're gone, and then they're left by themselves. It's like sort of that's like my like type of concern.
You probably think Tasha with her many hats, but I used to do security in this town, and I used to particularly do the young people events. So I used to do Liquid, Legends, most of the young people events. And my thing was, and I know it still happens now because we were part of a Luton Safe Forum where we used to talk about issues and how we deal with particular young people. This is a uni town, this is a student town. So when you're ejecting somebody from a younger person, there's that duty of care. And if someone's not doing that, if you go to a venue and they're not doing that, then maybe you complain to the management, or obviously as you're in groups of friends, you look after each other, because again, we can't expect someone else to look after us. It's unfortunate that that was your experience, but in my experience of working security, I would never throw a group out and not identify someone who's a bit more coherent to kind of lead them their way, or get them into a taxi, or just try and find some kind of solution to get this group home. But it is your responsibility as a group to look after each other, and I can't stress that enough. And this is not blaming anyone, because we go out, we have fun, and you should be able to go out and have fun without someone not trying to take advantage of you. But unfortunately, we live in a world where there are bad people out there, there are opportunists out there, and I think we just need to think of ways of how we can support each other if we're going out in a group. Have that girl code talk before you leave the house. I remember going out with my friends as a young, I'm still young, but as a younger person, and just knowing that, if someone's going to the toilet, someone has to go to the toilet with them. If someone gets chucked out, you talk to the manager. My friends are in there, can you get the rest of my friends out? I'm not leaving this door. I'll go outside, but I'm not leaving here without my friends. So it's just kind of prepping and planning when you're going out, and especially over this festive season, as well. Having more conversation over that pre-drink.
How many people you're going out with? Do you go out with people that you can actually trust?
That's true.
Because you could go out with a group of friends, like 5, 6, but you don't know that obviously you think you trust them, but they could turn their back on you, and they might do something you don't know. I would personally go out with friends I would trust just myself. That I keep a close friendship, that I trust with, that I can trust to go out with, so nothing bad happens on a night out. Because people should be allowed to go out on a weekend, enjoy themselves, get drunk, whatever, and go home again. And be safe. And be safe, do you know what I mean?
And equally, I just want to kind of throw in there, we do have police. So
Yeah.
when these things actually happen, can I ask you, did your friend report that to the police?
We reported it to the nightclub, but no, we actually never reported it to
So
the police.
we need to kind of get in a habit of reporting such incidents, because the police won't be able to kind of have an overview picture of what's going on if we're not reporting it. They might think, oh no, actually in Luton we're fine, we don't have that issue, but really and truly there are a number of cases that are happening, but they're not reported in, so they don't know. So then they can't actually provide information to the nightclub owners in order to, to support their customers.
Yeah.
It's almost like a domino effect.
So that kind of puts me brings me to a case that was recent, which wasn't necessarily a drink spiking case, but it pertains to the police, which was the case of Sarah Everett, who was kidnapped and physically abused and killed, and basically it ended up being a police officer that did it. Now, I'm a woman, but I'm also a black woman, so I have two reasons to not trust the police already. Do you know what I'm saying? So how can we, my question actually is to yourself, how can we actually start to maybe gain that kind of relationship with the police where that trust can be built? Because I feel like there's an experience I have as a woman where you hear things like that and you feel like, okay, but that was a police officer that did it, and then did any other police officers know that he might be friends with her? We know there's good and bad and there's filthy cops and all of those kind of things that you see on TV and whatever, but obviously that makes you really feel like, okay, can I trust the police to actually handle that situation? And then also, I'm a woman, but then my experience is different because I'm a black woman, so as me being a black person, there's also issues that there have been with police, racial profiling and all of those things as well, and we're kind of also left to kind of just deal with situations ourselves because we're strong black women or whatever as well. So it's a bigger thing. So how can we actually how can women in general start to actually gain that trust back with the police? What can be done, do you think, that can create something?
Yeah. First and foremost, that case is horrendous. Sarah Everard. What happened to her is just beyond any imagination, and I've got a 15-year-old daughter, so I can only imagine what her parents must be going through. I mean, you don't even want to think about it. And for that to be a police officer, it's just absolutely horrific what happened. And the police have taken a long, hard look at ourselves and think about, what is it that's attracted a man like that into policing, and how can we tackle that problem? Because that's a problem in itself. Is how did he get in? How did he not get? We didn't get alerted to his intentions and ideations. Are there issues that we missed? We don't know. That's subject to an inquiry at the minute, and of course I'm not going to go into the details of that because people are already investigating it. But what I would say is we all agree as a society that what happened was absolutely horrific, and I would never ever ever want that to happen to anyone ever again. But we know that there are bad people out there in all walks of life. And coming back to your trust and confidence piece with the police, I think what I'm doing here now and what we should do every day is work towards building that confidence. And listening to young people, listening to everyone and their views. And at the end of the day, the police are the public. We're made up of members of the public, and we are not perfect, just like the public are not perfect. And we must try and work really hard with the public so that you trust us, because I want you to call us and let us know if something's happened to you when you've been on a night out. I want you to tell us if you've been ejected from a club, because we have licensing laws and we can look to work with licensees and try and make things better, and that's our job. So you must talk to us and tell us, otherwise you can't do anything. And there's lots of ways you can contact us now. So you don't need to pick up the phone, you can do it online. So you could just drop us a note and tell us what's happened, and we'll pick up the information and take it from there. But make no mistake, I know we've got a long way to go. I know we have, and we want to be better. Every day we want to be better.
I think with a lot of people now, they don't trust the police obviously because of what's happened, but other things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like other things, people feel like they're victimised, like walking down the street and then they've been stopped, and so stuff like that. That people are going to build more and more on the police and go, wait a minute, why should I come to you if you're doing that you're going out and you're just stopping random people because you feel like people feel like, to other people they might feel like it's a necessary, like they might feel like police are picking on them or stuff like that. But my thing is, doing stuff like this, getting the police as well to speak to young people could be the stepping stone forward to getting that trust levels back up, so nothing like stuff happens again, so people can come forward and say, I've had this has happened to me, someone's done this. It's like you've got to find ways of, it's more safeguarding as well, you've got to find ways to build it on beyond trust, like between us and you lot as well. That is my opinion.
Here in Bedfordshire we do have independent advisory groups that scrutinise what we do, and we're open to that level of scrutiny, and Tasha will know about that. And our stop and search panel, so we go through stop and search that we've done with an independent group of people to scrutinise what we're doing, and we're happy to be scrutinised.
I used to sit on that stop and search scrutiny committee, and I think it's an amazing platform for community. Anybody, I mean, if you're interested in being on that panel, anybody, I'm more than happy to kind of share that information with yourselves. And I know, like, I've seen some questions for the next podcast, and I will definitely ensure that I
would love to see how the police go through it and go where they've made the mistake and they've
you
gone
do
back
get to see that,
and they've learned that. That's something I would love to see. So then I know when I'm like out, or I know people that, and I can turn around and say, well, when they go back through it, they look at what they've done wrong and they learn from it, because you learn every day more things. You learn new things, and it's good to see if the police are actually going through it all again and gone, we've done this wrong, we should have done it this way. And that is something I would be interested in doing.
Definitely, I'll make sure I'll share that information. But the Stop and Search Scrutiny Committee is made up of local community, police officers, young people, older people, head teachers, lecturers, everyone. Anybody can sit on this panel. And what you do as a panel member, you provide like insight to maybe how that person might feel. And as a panel, you decide the recommendations for an officer that may have done stop and search incorrectly, and then that gets filtered up back to their chief or their managers for them to kind of put in place some kind of training and awareness kind of guidance for that individual. And I think it's really good, because then we get fed back about progression and things and development. You get to understand the national stats. You know, you get to understand from different points of views. There's officers there you know, sometimes their jobs are difficult, you know, in terms of stop and search, but equally you get to feed into the way Bedfordshire sees and performs stop and search. So that's
really cool, because as that kind of helps to answer my question in terms of building that relationship with the police. To bring it back to what we were speaking about with regards to the drink spiking, Maya actually mentioned a couple of things that you can do, so I think that we should probably go into things that you can do when you're with your friendship group, or when you've gone out. You also mentioned like the little corps. So you said the SOS van back in the day.
Yeah, so the SOS does still operate in. Did they still operate?
So the SOS bus, they're just about to get a new bus. I think we've just funded 6,000 for them, and we've also funded in town that every venue, whether it's a dessert shop, whether it's Costa, whether it's a pub, will be given the drink covers now. So if you're a woman who wants to go have a cup of tea, she can cover her drink if she's in Costa. If it's two girls having milkshakes in a dessert shop at 8 o'clock after they finished uni, they can get a drinks cover. So we've just allocated funding, and they're about to go out, and the SOS van will have loads on there as well. And we've also just gone out and bought the SOS van, every single charger for every single phone. So at any point there's anybody, man, female, beast, whatever, with a mobile that's flat, you can get to the SOS and you can get charged, and you can sit in the van, be safe and be warm.
Yeah, I never used to have to use them, but I used to always go for, like, if I'm going out, I used to go and get the call, because it used to come with a straw. And then, like, if somebody even injured themselves or anything like that on a night out and they've had like a scratch or whatever, they'll come, they've like first aid trained, like
SOS is a good bus
really
for if you're wearing high heels and you can't manage them, they give you little flip-flops too.
So
it's a really good bus. And if you don't know about it, get to, like Ken used to be the mayor of Leighton Buzzard, I think, but he also volunteered. Everyone who works on that, they're volunteers as well. And that's another place that probably to see the kind of things that the nightlife and what people are doing to support young people and people in general out in the nightlife. I would say volunteers, sign up for volunteering on the SOS bus.
Can I just say as well that the preventative measures are great, and I would always say trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, probably isn't right, and you know that instinct you've got, and take action if you feel like you're getting yourself into a scenario that doesn't feel right. But what I wanted to say was, we always must address the offender's behaviour, because it's their fault. What's happened is their responsibility. You should be allowed to go out to any venue you want to go out to, enjoy yourself, you know, have one too many if you want, and wear what you like.
Yes,
you should be able to.
And what I would say on this podcast, and I want to get this message out, is I think we need to talk about men's behaviour, and I think we've got a guy on the panel here, and you know, men in groups, you know, you can challenge each other and say that's not acceptable, that's not right. What you're about to do or what you're thinking about doing is not right, and you need to. There's a sense of responsibility there, I think, for the men's behaviour.
I think that's facts, because you know what? Sometimes guys are very much bro code, want to stick up for their friend, and my question is always, are you a true friend if you're seeing your friend doing something untoward and you're not helping him to correct his behaviour when you've gone out? I know guys can get drunk and might get a bit leery or whatever, but it's always nice when you do see certain guys that they're like, yo, hold on a minute, bro. Like back in the, I'm what they would call a carnivalist. I grew up going to carnival, Notting Hill Carnival, from a really young age, and I remember once I went with my sister, like as an adult, and like even getting through the crowds and stuff is really hard, and people are getting leery and in your face, and I remember like every time I got to a point where I felt like, oh my gosh, like we just want to get through, there was always one guy that would be like to his friends, hold on a minute, let these ladies through.
Be that guy.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Be that guy. Or don't be that guy.
Or don't be that guy. Yeah.
And I think also we need to stop victim blaming.
Yeah.
We should not be blaming females, victims, for crimes that are done towards them.
Precisely.
Just like Julie said, we need to look at the offenders.
How I see it is, when you go out, you should have that maturity level of them conversations you have, and if you're not mature enough to have them conversations and you want to go and do something stupid, don't come back to me and blame it on me, because I have that mentality. When I go out, if I see something wrong, and I will go up to a guy and say, whoa, you can't be doing that. Like I've seen once in a nightclub, a guy's gone to hit a woman, and I said, why are you going to hit a woman and then you're going to blame it, or you're going to wake up and you're going to blame it on her anyway, that she attacked you first. I would be like to people, like, think about what you're doing first, have that maturity level of, don't matter if you're 18, 19, 20, 21, still have that maturity of growing up, and don't be so stupid. If you had too many, call it a night, go home before you absolutely do something stupid, because one of these days you'll do something stupid and you end up in a cell for the night, and that's where it gets all wrong, and then they start going, oh, I think I'm all this, that now, and then they won't tell no one else about it.
So I guess like the question is like, if like in the case someone does get spiked and or like something happens to that woman where you're questioning, is she just drunk or has something happened, do you actually have any procedure or any sort of training on what to actually do to help the woman?
So all of your doorman bouncers, they are okayed by a government fund called SIA, so you have to sit an exam, you have to be checked to make sure you don't have a criminal record, and unfortunately on the course there's nothing about drink spiking or recognising it or training. I'm lucky purely because I've done 25 years in the industry, worked in massive events and festivals, to understand now, you know, and the signs of a girl and how she's talking, how her body reacts, and it just literally is experience, but there's nothing out there for us to recognise when you might have had maybe too many sambucas, or the fact that you have been spiked.
I guess another point would be like going back to like the mental health sort of side of it. Like, what is there for women afterwards? Like after it's happened, like I know like after it's happened, some women are traumatised. Like, is there any support or any help out there for the women after the result?
I can take that. So if it's reported as a crime and we know for sure that she's been spiked and then something else could have happened afterwards, she'll be treated as a victim. She absolutely is a victim. And she'll get the services that we offer for victim services, signposting. You know, if she's particularly traumatised by it, we'll try our best to make sure that she's signposted towards the care that she might need. But it just depends what the scenario is and what exactly has happened. But we will do everything we can to help that person. And of course, there's lots of agencies out there that can help too. that you need to lean into as well.
I'm sorry, and they do want to listen to you, and I'm not just going to fob you off. And I think that's a massive thing in security industry and nightclub is that, you know, we need a little bit more training. And, you know, a lot of venues, you'll find the big venues have got first aiders, a lot of events have got first aiders that you'll be able to go and get that help. But I definitely think it's something that, as Luton Safe, we need to look into to get a better understanding of what the signs we're looking for.
I personally think there are certain males out there that won't want to do it, like won't want to like look at how to stop themselves, because they could have done it so many times where they've just got that mentality in their head.
Think it's bad.
They might not think it's bad in their head.
I caught 3 guys that had come in. See, I'm going to be honest with you. They came into the tap, and I thought it was weird that they didn't buy a drink, but they went up to play pool. So I thought, okay, I'm going to leave them. Then the next thing I can hear is my female doorwoman calling them for every name and dragging them out. And she'd caught them filming underneath some girls' skirts. They were dancing, and so this guy's gone mad and give him a smack and took his phone, as obviously, you know, we were fine with us smacking him, to be honest with you. It was really horrific what he'd got on his phone. But I went back and I watched the CCTV, and, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff, but the one thing I wasn't prepared to see was the enjoyment on him and his friends as they're filming, the enjoyment they've got from filming her. And I've never seen it on the man's face. To stand back from the attack and to watch him enjoy the attack, and it was horrific. It was horrible to watch.
So just on that point, that is now an offence. Upskirting is a crime.
Oh, listen, the police came, they were amazing.
Yeah,
they were amazing.
And whoever we catch will be prosecuted, and they will go on the sex offenders register, and we will deal with them as a sex offender, because that's what they are.
And he kept saying to me, "You're going to ruin my life. You're going to ruin my life."
He did that.
He did that.
100%. I couldn't sit.
Do you not allow for perpetrators to make it be your fault?
100%.
100%.
Yeah. And she was wearing a short dress, and I said, "Listen, you should be able to wear a short dress. This is not your fault."
As me as a male, just hearing that makes me feel physically sick.
Or to see it was horrific.
Like I would have been physically like horrified, like to hear him something like that.
But just to watch them enjoying.
Yeah, how could you enjoy going up and just?
And him and his mate were like.
Do you know what I mean? How could you do it?
The men of Luton need to be more like you.
I've learned.
Ambassador.
That work for me. The standard ambassador for that.
Let's keep our women safe.
Yeah. But just to kind of a little wrap up this part of it. There is quite a lot of support out there for trauma, anyone who's going through trauma, whether they are victims, perpetrators or witnesses. You know, if you go onto I'm plugging work now. If you go onto our website, we have a lot of organisations that we not only fund but who are just there. They exist in Bedfordshire, across Bedfordshire, that supports young people or even older people who are going through trauma, who are dealing with some kind of trauma in some sort. Also Signpost is the place, like the one-stop shop for organisations that can support with all different kind of crimes. So if you know of anyone or young people, any of your peers that may be going through certain things or may possess some kind of attitude or behaviours that may suggest that their behaviour is going to put them in trouble, signpost them or even refer them. You know, you can go online and do individual referring for young people or adults who may be going through particular issues as well.
So the next topic that we're going to speak about is the COVID-19 vaccination and the pressure on young people to get the COVID vaccination. So I'm going to give my opinion first. I'm at the moment, I'm not really pro-vaccine, just because I feel like I want to see how this plans out first and what happens before I make that decision on injecting something into my body. I feel like there has become pressure on young people to get this vaccine more than any other probably vaccine or injection that you go into like school and stuff and get. So I just want everybody else's views, what you think with regards to the vaccine, if you think it's safe, if you think that it's about your choice. So I think I'm going to go to Maya first because I think that there's something that Maya researched that I was really interested in.
Oh, well, I think we talked about.
Yeah, when you Maya just brought to my attention basically that by law, let's say your parent forgot to fill in the slip or whatever, if they think that you're coherent enough to make a decision and you go to school and say, oh, I haven't got my slip to say that I cannot get my vaccine, you as a young person can make that decision to get the vaccine. Is that right?
Yeah, so in schools across the country, if like schools are now obviously administering the vaccinations for a particular age group, But as parents, if you forget or you're not aware, if you forget, I'm going to say forget because it must be you forgot to sign a form or even sign to say, no, I don't want you to do this to my child. The child can be asked if they are happy to go through this process, and they can actually say, yes, I'm happy to have a vaccination, and then your child will be vaccinated.
The law you're referring to, it's called the Gillic Principle, and it's about competence in being able to make a rational decision.
Yeah.
And you as a young person can take rational decisions about your own well-being and safety and vaccines and all sorts of different things. But what I would say is you need to speak to parents and make sure that you're as together as you can be.
And have all the information.
Yeah, when does that start? Like when, I think it was like 12 or something?
I mean, there's no real age band, but it's kind of that age-ish. But it depends, every person is different, you know, people mature at different stages of their life. You know, it depends what your background is, but you as a young person have the right to have your voice heard. And I'm one of those parents who forgot to sign a form. So my daughter's not been vaccinated, but not because I don't want her to be or she doesn't want to be, I just forgot. Yeah. Because I'm busy and my bad parent. Sorry. I will sit with her and say, what do you think? What would you like to do? And I will go with your wishes because it's your body and it's your life and it's your choice. But not all parents are like that, are they? So I think I'd say, yes, there is some legislation you could lean on if you wanted to, but equally I think it's important you have that conversation with your parents or your carers or whoever looks out for you to make a whole decision around all the facts and information before you decide one way or the other.
So my thing was, I've had my vaccination. I've had 3. I've had even the booster. But before I even had any of my COVID vaccinations, at my age, even Untitled, I still sat down with my mum and dad and said, do I get this done? Do I not? And I just heard their opinions. They've got underlying health conditions, and it was brought to my attention if I wanted to go and see him, but with COVID going like when it was after lockdown and that, then I should get it done to protect not just myself but protect them. So that was my whole reason of doing it. And I just think if people want to protect their parents, like not just for themselves but for them, for them not catching COVID through you or something and then not dying, then it could be one of the protocols of getting the vaccination done.
And that's a great point. I think thinking about the people that are around you and what's in their best interest as well, and taking that into account when you make the decision.
Yeah, I think that's a really good reason, but I also feel like it's not, because the vaccine isn't a guarantee from you getting or being able to pass it on, then it doesn't.
It's more to protect yourself.
It's more to stop the symptoms from being more, I guess. If you were looking at it, okay, it can stop the symptoms from being more severe and COVID not actually killing you, then yes. To get the vaccine, but to protect yourself or other people, you can still catch COVID, you can still pass COVID on with the vaccine. So for me, that's my personal reason as to why I'm just like, okay, well then, do I get it?
I'm a healthy young person, so I feel like, and I don't have any underlying health issues.
With regards to the young people and what the topic is, I think something else that Maya and I discussed when we spoke about this was, okay, so what if your parent signs the form and says, yes, you can get the vaccine, but you don't want to get the vaccine? So you can go to them and can you not forget the form and then say, no, I don't want to get the vaccine. My parents said
no, but if your parents want you to get it, you know they'll be like, they didn't get it.
It's such a.
But I think, and I probably would have to answer my sisters or people who have children of that age group in school, but I think if the parent signs it, but the young person expresses they don't want it, I'm sure they have to listen to the young person, because that's the whole law.
But I love this though, because the reason why I brought it up as well is because also Julie mentioned about listening to your children, because my generation, your generation, I don't know if our parents really listened to us to a certain extent when it came to certain decisions. Like I can speak for myself and say that anyway, like sometimes when it came to certain decisions being made, parents weren't really listening to their children that much. They're the parent, they're making the decision. Now I think that modern parents, because they kind of know what went left before, they're more like, listen to your children, listen, whatever religion you are. I always quote from the Bible, from the mouth of babes. When you listen to children, there's so many things that they say that can teach you. So I feel like that whole thing about listening to the children for me is a big thing. For sure.
No, definitely, and I think it's a culture change for some of the parents, my parents, and I guess the parents of the rest of the panel here. it was a rule. You just listen to your parents. They made a decision. They didn't listen to you, but do as I say and not as I do.
Yep.
Some kind of fluffy, woolly thing. But that hasn't helped really in the grand scheme of things. So I think what we need to encourage as young people, we are young people, is that open and honest conversation with our parents. You know, there's a lot of parents who are not aware of like the COVID issues and stuff like that. There's a lot of young parents who are not aware of some of the pressures that young people face, but it's for us who are in the know to find a way to have those conversations with the older generation, have them intergenerational conversations, because if we're not making them aware, we're going to see the gap grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Before you know it, you've got young people here, older people here, and then a whole load of issues going on in the middle.
Because obviously people's parents now are a different generation to what the generation is now. It's like more young people like, I can just do my parents will listen, I just want to do what I want. But then your parents in their mind are thinking, well, no, because I grew up different to you. And they're thinking, you still got to listen.
And I think the most important thing that you've all said is that listen. Really listen. Listen to understand, not to answer.
Yeah.
So listen to understand why you're coming from, and what's making you feel the way that you do, and how can you talk about that as a group, as a collective, and come to a collective decision, like you said. But really listen, and don't just do it on the surface.
I think with me it was well, my granddad had died the year before this had happened, and my nan's like vulnerable and she was by herself in the house, so a lot of it was obviously me standing at the end of the driveway like to go and see her and stuff like that, but I had to make the split decision of whether to come home from uni or not. So I made the decision to come home for my nan so I could do uni work at home and then still go see my nan and stuff like that. So I kind of made the decision to get it to sort of like protect my nan, so I've had 2 of them. But I think with me it's a bit like I've been unsure about the booster. I just don't feel like there's enough, like I don't know where to look for information like that's actual like facts of like like what it is, like how it is. Like there's like a new variant now, so it's like, is there much point in getting the booster? But like I don't know where to look for information.
GP, Health Watch, Luton, those are the places that I would suggest anybody go to, and then obviously you have to make your own decisions once you've got that information, your own informed decision. But in terms of the new variant, I don't even think your GP will be able to give you that, because it's new information. So, but in terms of the booster, I would suggest speaking to GP, and then if you go into Luton Borough Council website, there's Health Watch. They do surveys amongst young people about how they feel, and they also work with GPs and stuff like that, and they'll be able to give you some information about that as well. Yeah, but I'm all about, I think as an individual you should make your own decision on what you want to do, whether you want to get the vaccine or whether you don't want to. And I don't think anyone should force you to do anything that you don't want to do. And I think you should respect everyone's individual opinions, and I don't think you should push your opinion about the vaccine on anyone.
So before we wrap up, I just want everyone to kind of give us, their overall. Thank you. Let's start at it. Thank you.
What the whole thing is?
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I would love everyone to just kind of give their final thoughts of our discussions today. So we're going to start from the same end that we did before, and then I'll go last to close it up.
I think it'd be good to do something like this again. That's what I think overall.
Yeah.
I've learnt a lot, I think, like especially like information on where to go and where I can get the information that I need. I think it's been very helpful.
Yeah, I feel like this was a very good discussion, and we should have more like this.
I just feel very honoured to be on the platform with young people, hearing about your experience. In my kind of job, we rely on hearing what young people say in order to put the support and offerings in place. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for being here.
I would just like to say, as young people, you're the only person that's going to keep you safe. Yeah. So whether that's that vaccine or whether that's you having your phone charged and you staying with your girlmate and not going to the toilet by yourself, you're the only one that's in charge of your safety, whether it's health or whether it's physical.
And I'd just like to say thank you very much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed listening to what you've got to say, And I think we've had a really good conversation, and I'd be welcome that again, perhaps with an audience next time. We can have a really good chat. And for me to start breaking down some of those barriers that you described, because it really hurts for me to hear that we don't have confidence in the police, and I'm desperate to fix it.
Thank you so much. Well, I would just like to say that it's been great sitting and discussing these topics with you all. Thank you all for coming. I would also like to say that I also learned a lot as well, especially with regards to like the lady said before, like where you can go and where you can find certain information. Things like when Tasha said about the people that actually scrutinise, stop and search and those things, and being able to volunteer for these things because they're not really advertised. So it was really good to find that information as well. But yes, thank you so much for all coming, for discussing these topics, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again really soon.